Hello and welcome to Wednesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where today we are going to scratch an itch that some of you often write to us about, and that is the fact that we do tend to do a lot of Sudoku on the channel. And the complaint is it would be nice to see more sort of other forms of logic puzzle. And I basically agree. It's just that Sudoku tends to be more popular. But there are some constructors that when they set unusual types of puzzles, you really have to take notice, especially when those puzzles get recommended to us a lot. And today, this puzzle on screen is by KNT, I think universally regarded across the world as, or for those of you who've ever encountered KNT, as a puzzle genius. And this is called Pentomino Yajilin. And it's an absolutely intriguing rule set. Basically, the idea is we draw a loop in the grid, but that loop needs to surround pentomino shapes that we're going to put in the grid. And these clues are sort of pointing. So this is saying there are 4 pentomino pieces in that section of cells. There's 2 pentomino pieces in this section of cells, etc. And that's all the rules, basically. It's fascinating, and it's got absolutely eulogistic comments on Logic Masters. I think it might have a 100% rating, 4 stars out of 5 for difficulty, and we are going to have a go at it. So I think if you've never tried a puzzle that is not Sudoku before on the channel, try this one, see what you think. Apparently it is an absolute masterpiece. Now, what else do I need to mention? Well, depending on how long this video takes me to record, and this puzzle takes me to solve, assuming I can solve it at all, soon we might be about to stream Braid, because tonight at 10 PM UK time, we are going to... Oh, hang on, where is it? There. Maverick's just taken off. That's ludicrous. How long did that take today? 2 minutes. Yeah, so this is this amazing puzzle game by Jonathan Blow, the father of The Witness, and also the father of Braid, which has just been re-released as an anniversary edition. And it is a weird and wonderful game. The idea is basically it's a platformer where you can rewind time. So Mark and I loved having a go at it last week, and we're going to have a go at it again this week. Love to have your company. I'll try and remember to put a link on the screen. Also, of course, over on Patreon, we have got this incredible Sudoku hunt by Blobs. We talk about it every day with good reason. This is totally and utterly wonderful. The feedback has been out of this world. So if you're a fan of The Lord of the Rings or Sudoku, or indeed the artwork of Ted Naismith, you will find something to enjoy there. So check it out. You've still got until the 20th to enter the competition. And then I've got some birthdays to do as well. The first one is brilliant. Griffin, it's your 10th birthday today. I know this because your dad, Duke, wrote to us, but said that rather than talking about chocolate cake for you, apparently you asked that all your presents this year had to be earned by means of a puzzle hunt. And I'm going to give you a clue to help you find one of your presents. And the clue I'm going to give you is this: Godel Escher bark, an eternal golden braid. And I hope that helps you to find a present. Off you go. That's absolutely brilliant. So Griffin, happy birthday. Now I've got another great announcement here to Rose. Rose, you've turned 18 today. And I know this because your brother Jonas wrote to us and said you'd appreciate a shout out. And I remember doing your shout out last year when Jonas was very apologetic about you having to go to his graduation on your birthday. But I don't know if you know this already. But anyway, Jonas wanted to, for this year, he wanted to get you a CTC shout out, which I'm doing. And apparently the next time you visit, there will also be a car in the driveway. And that's going to be your car. So he's also giving you freedom, which is quite, what a present! What an absolutely brilliant brother. So Rose, many happy returns. I hope the car is cool, and you have a great birthday today. And lastly, but not leastly, Roan, over there in the Netherlands, you have turned 35 today. and I know this because we had a lovely email from your partner Suzanne saying that the two of you tended to listen at night because you found it relaxing. So thank you for following the channel. And Roan, I hope you have a brilliant birthday with, of course, lots of chocolate cake. And with all that said and done, let us have a go at Pentomino Yajilin by KNT, and I will read you the rules. I was about to say normal Sudoku rules apply. No, they definitely don't. How big is this grid? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15. Okay, 15 by 15. We've got to draw a loop that moves orthogonally between cells and does not visit any cell more than once. Actually, I'm just going to stop there. If you're wondering how do we draw a loop in the software, and you've never used the software before, the crucial thing, click the cog icon. Oh, I don't know if you can see that. There's sort of the option at the top to enable the pen tool. I always have my pen tool enabled. And then if you have that enabled, there'll be an icon on the right, which actually if you hover the cursor over it, it even says pen. And then you can sort of draw, you can draw loops and things in the grid. So Sven, the wonderful programmer responsible for this software, check it out. It's called Sudoku Pad. I'll put a link on the screen to that as well. But that is how to enable drawing of loops in the software. Anyway, so we've got to draw a loop, moves orthogonally between cells. What does that mean? It means that when it moves, it crosses an edge. So what it doesn't do is move diagonally like that. Those two cells are not orthogonally connected. They only touch each other at a point. So we've got to draw a loop that moves like that. Does not visit cells more than once. Cells containing clues must not be visited by the loop. Every other unvisited cell, i.e. those that do not contain clues, must belong to a pentomino. Areas of 5 orthogonally connected cells. Yeah, so if you're not familiar with a pentomino, it's sort of the 5th dimension of dominoes. Dominoes have 2 cells, triominoes have 3 cells, tetrominoes, or tetras, you might have seen, have 4 cells, and then if we add on a cell to that, that is a so-called F pentomino, because it looks very, very slightly like an F. If I draw it in the other direction, you may be able to see that. So all of the pentominoes, all of the 5-cell pentominoes have names. So there's like, that's an L, that's an I, what other, X is that one? Can't remember the others. T. Anyway, so they all have names, but basically they're made up. So that is not a pentomino, because those 5 cells are not orthogonally connected, because this one doesn't share an edge with the other 4. But I think there are 12 types of pentomino altogether. I don't know whether that's going to be relevant to the puzzle. If we get to the end and I think it's relevant, I'll put a little card on the screen somewhere to show you the pentominoes. Anyway, no pentomino shape may repeat, and they must not touch each other, not even diagonally. So when we're drawing a pentomino, if we put a pentomino in and then we draw another pentomino like that, that's not allowed, because these two touch one another diagonally, which is not allowed. A rotation or reflection of a pentomino should be treated as a repeat of that pentomino, and therefore not allowed. Okay, so what we can't do, if we had a T there, and then we had another T, well, what could be viewed as a rotation or reflection of this shape, and we were trying to put that in over here, we would know that's impossible, because we can't repeat the same shape, and rotations and reflections of a shape are treated as a repeat in this puzzle. And then not all of the 12 possible pentomino shapes, so there are 12 possible pentomino shapes, are necessarily used. Okay, a clue specifies the number of cells belonging to pentominoes in the indicated direction. So that's what we were saying before. So there are 5 pentomino pieces, or no cells. There are 5 cells of pentomino in that direction. There aren't 5 different pentominoes. That would be very hard, given that they're not allowed to touch one another. Anyway, that's all the rules. Do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. But now I get to play. Let's get cracking. I'm starting here. Look, as Maverick flies past 0. So these cells, but I have a colour for not pentomino. these cells are all loop. So let's go to the loop drawing thing. We can if I had any coordination, I could do that. Oh, okay, so that allows me to do that as well. There we go. We've started. So is that a pentomino piece? Is a good question, perhaps. It would have to grow, wouldn't it? And then the loop would go along the bottom of the grid, but that could then do any sort of rinky-dinkage, couldn't it? Okay. Okay, I'm not really sure where to look to start this. We could... So let me I'm going to think about this one clue. What that's saying is there is there's only one of these is a pentomino piece. So let's just make that a pentomino piece and see what that means. Because now neither of these would be a pentomino piece. So it's sort of, the loop would have to do that. This pentomino would have to grow and couldn't... Oh, that's quite interesting. In growing, what it couldn't do is grow to the bottom of the grid. Because if it grew that far, we can't make a loop anymore. This strand of line is in a cul-de-sac and it couldn't escape. So actually, this would have to go up, wouldn't it? 1, 2... can't get to the bottom of the grid, so it's actually got to go up 2. But it can't, okay, it can't trap this in either. So now it would have to go, oh, I'm not sure actually. Let me just draw this in and have a look at it. Well, it could take that one, but it couldn't take the bottom one, so it actually has to go there. This is weird. So now we might not know. Okay, all right, but this is just I was just experimenting with what happened when we put something in there. It could go there or there, presumably. But one thing I'm noticing from that is that just one pentomino piece is causing quite a dramatic sort of chain reaction, butterfly effect. No, that's not true. I was about to say that couldn't be a pentomino piece because I thought that would be a dead end, but then it could join there, couldn't it? And that would make that okay. We've got 6 and 5 pointing at one another. Is that doing something? It probably... No. The 5, well, If there's nothing in there, there's an I pentomino there. That feels very powerful. Yeah, so what I'm saying is if both of these are green, then in order for this 5 clue to work, all of those have to be pentomino. And that's fine. I mean, that is an I pentomino, but then all of these would be not pentomino. And they would all be loop, and the loop would... Well, the loop would... see, then the loop would have to come through these strands, otherwise it would close in the top left-hand corner. There might be a reason that's impossible, but I'm not seeing it if there is. I'm not doing very well here, am I? I got off to a good start, but then I got stuck. What about this 2 clue? What's that doing? So that's saying there are 2 pentomino pieces up here. Which... Well, but you don't know whether they're joined together or... Well, I suppose they couldn't be separate like... Oh, no, they could be because... Oh, hang on. Oh, okay, you couldn't have... Actually, that's maybe that it's not some sort of generic point here, is it? Like, something I've just noticed up there is a U pentomino. Oh no, a U pentomino could nest into a clue. Okay, I was about to say you couldn't have a U pentomino in the puzzle anywhere because that shape, well, you certainly can't put it there, because this would be a cul-de-sac for the loop. But what you could do, perhaps, is that. And that sort of, it gets rid of, the cul-de-sac is then filled with a clue, so it doesn't create a cul-de-sac for the loop. Okay. So this might be why we don't do so many pencil puzzles, because when they get hard, if you're not experienced at doing, I mean, I am reasonably experienced at doing pencil puzzles, but I've never done a Pentomino Yajilin before. I've done loads of Yajilin, but Yajilin doesn't work like this, because in Yajilin, when you put if you put a block there, you can't put any other cells any other blocked cells next to it, so you automatically get loads of loop cells. But this doesn't work that way, because the blocks can be, well, the blocks have to be, in fact, orthogonally connected. Yeah, I mean, I can see there's a lot of pressure on this area of the grid, I'm going to say. That's got to have an awful lot of pentomino in it, because I've got a 6 and a 4. So, I mean, admittedly, these two cells could both be pentomino, but that still means 8 of those cells have to be pentomino. Which sort of feels like it might be interesting. So, but some number between 8 and 10 of these, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 13. So between 8 and 10 of these 13 cells are definitely pentomino. And they're pentominoes that can't touch one another. Oh, hang on. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you something that I can do. There is definitely something here, because if both, yeah, I looked at this the wrong way round. If both of those were not pentomino, then all of these are pentomino to make the 6 clue work, and that creates not a pentomino, but what are they, hexominoes? And a hexomino is not allowed in the puzzle, so that definitely doesn't work. So there's something grey here, but there might be 2 greys. Or, well, it's not 1 grey. Yeah, okay. That's grey, I'm going to claim. Whatever. Because either both of these are grey, that's one possibility, or one of them is grey. And if one of them is grey, I'm going to claim it can't be that one. Because if that's grey, that's a cul-de-sac. So whether 1 or 2 are grey, that is always grey. Right, and that's rather pretty, actually, because what that means, I think, is that that square is not allowed to be pentomino, because you can't connect those together with a pentomino. So this would be a different pentomino to that, and that would be touching pentominoes, which is too naughty for words. So that is green, and that is beautiful because it's a corner. So we get a little bit more, right, we get a bit more loop, we get to do some more greenage. Now, okay, we're allowed 2x2s in this, aren't we? There's no anti 2x2 rule, so I can't use that. Oh, nearly. Whoa, very nearly. Well, the 4 clue now has to take a lot of this, doesn't it? Well, okay, that's true. Oh, actually, let's go back to the other thought we were having, because I was looking at this as a collection of cells, but now that collection of cells has shrunk, rather. Because now 2 of those, there were 13 cells, so it's 11 cells now. So 11, well, we can't put, there's no, well, we don't have to, of course, because now at least 1 cell has been hypothecated off here. So we've got a maximum of 5 here and a minimum of 4. So we have to still put 8 pentomino shapes in this 11 cell region without those shapes touching one another. So let me just think about that. What does that mean? I don't know. Can we have... it is actually a bit tricky. There's got to be... well, obviously, because there's at least 8 pentomino pieces, and 8 is bigger than 5, there are at least 2 shapes in this. And for there to be 3 shapes, I feel like that's impossible, because if there were 3, the most efficient way we could do that would be that way, and that's only 7 cells. So I think there are probably only 2 pentomino shapes here. Yeah, or is the idea to say that this must be a pentomino piece? Because if it wasn't, there would be 9 shapes in these 11 cells. And the only way, well, the only way to do that, you could do 9, but that would repeat a P, wouldn't it? If you did that, that doesn't work. Because this shape would have to grow, and it would become the same shape as that. But maybe there are... maybe there is another way of orientating this so it would work. And if... okay, let's think more diligently about whether if it's 8. If it's 8, can we do that with some... is there any flexibility in how we do 8? So you had a P there. Well, then you could do all sorts of things over here. Do you have to have a P? Is that the point? Because if you don't... actually, no, maybe you don't have to. No, that's not enough. That's only 7. You can't... or is the point that has to be, this cell here has to be shaded? Because if that cell is green as well, I now have to put at least 8 into these squares without them touching. And the only way you could possibly do that would be like that, and that's 2p pentominoes once they extend. Right, okay, I believe that. That feels right. So that's definitely a shape. And now I've got 10 for at least 7. Does that have to be the P, or can you put the P... no, you could put the P there, and then that could be... well, no, it couldn't be that, actually. That would isolate a cell, but you might be able to come up with something else. You can't have another P. Could you have a W? Yeah, that works. Look at that. That works. I've got 8 there in altogether. Or I've got 7 more in green, to be precise, and that's the minimum number I need. I think this probably has to be a black cell as well. But how do I definitively prove all of this? That's an interesting question, isn't it? And I'm not sure I know the answer. It's going to be something like... I don't know. I'm not quite. I feel underpowered when it comes to, deducing things about looping round pentomino shapes. There's probably a whole load of lore that KNT knows that would really help me to sort of just be able to visualize what I've got to do here. See, what if maybe that cell, if we go through there, I just feel that would put so much pressure on this green area. So I'm wondering whether I can prove that this has to be a grey shape, because if we have to come through there, then I'm going to take another cell, however this extends further. So let's say it extended up, and then I've got to put 7. Yeah, you can't do that. I've got to put 7 more pentominoes in this green region, and there's no way you can do that without those touching one another. So in fact, okay, so here is a deduction. That square is definitely a black square, and probably, yeah, and for the same reason, if you've got maybe that's the way to think about it. How much loop can there be in this 10-cell region, which has to contain 7 pentomino pieces? At least. It just can't contain 8 pentomino pieces. The only way you could keep the pentominoes apart, if you did that, which you would have to do, is like that. They both be P's, and you're not allowed 2 P's. So that square is definitely that. We've still got a massive problem here, because we've still got to fit 7 pentomino pieces in here. So again, this can't be a corner of the loop, because if that's a corner of the loop, all of those then have to be pentomino, and that's not a pentomino. So this square is definitely also a pentomino. It's a pentomino piece, so that's a... And the same is going to be true... Oh no! Well, actually, yeah, I like this. This might work as a way of sort of iterating towards an answer here, because that is also impossible, I'm going to claim. And the reason for that is it leaves behind the correct number of pentominoes shapes. So we'd have to highlight all of those in pentomino-ness, but that is not a pentomino anymore. That's again, it's another hexomino. So this also can't be a corner of the loop. So that has to be one of this 2 clues thingy being the technical term. Now can we keep going with that? So creating corners within this seems to be quite a profitable activity. And we've got 1, 2, 3. So there are still 5 more pentomino pieces to put into this region. So what about if this was an edge? So if we did that. Well, no, you can't do that, because however I populate this 2x3 rectangle with 5 pentomino pieces, the 2 pentominoes I will put into that will touch one another. So that's impossible. So that means that this square is also part of a pentomino. So now what's this? This could be a Y, or a P, or a T maybe. Although T, no, see, I think T, I don't think that can be. Surely that cannot be pentomino, because then none of those could be pentomino, and I wouldn't get enough pentomino pieces. So that's definitely wrong. This square here is loop, believe it or not. Okay, so if hang on. If that's Oh, it's that. No, that might be it. We have to find something that works. Now that would cause this to be a P. This... Oh, hang on, no, this doesn't work, I don't think. Oh, there's a problem. Houston, we have a problem. Oh, this is clever. Right, but this is for a totally different reason. KNT is so clever. Goodness me. Right. Okay, the problem here is this 2 clue, because I have to make that a pentomino piece. But what on earth do I do with this now? Because all of this is pentomino. I mean, it looks like it might be working, but I can't. The loop's going to have to go into one of these 2 squares, or I'm going to create a great big, whatever that is, a septomino or something, or a heptomino. And if the loop goes in there, it can't get out again. So this is wrong. So in fact, that is not a corner, and therefore that, here we go. We've got a pentomino. That is a pentomino, and it's surrounded on all sides and in diagonal positions by green. And we have discovered, look at this. This is huge. This is absolutely huge. So now we have to do this. We mustn't close the loop. We're away here. This is absolutely magic. So now we can do that. We still have to put, how many more do we have to put in here? We've got, oh, well, this can't be a P. 4, 5. So we need 3 more. So 3 of these are going to turn into light green. Actually, I'm going to do it like that. 3 of these are going to turn light green. No, sorry, 3 of these are turning pentomino. 1 of them is turning light green. Well, it can't be that one that's light green, because then those 3 would be pentomino, and I create a cul-de-sac. So that is definitely pentomino. And these are part of the same pentomino, aren't they? So that feels like it might matter. Oh, no, that's not right. I've got to be careful here. I was about to say this had to turn up, but that's not true. Well, it might in the end prove true, actually, because this is going to create some sort of pentomino wall. So this end here is going to have to connect to there somehow, I think. Right, so how do we do this? Is it that way? And we've also got to make sure that whatever we construct here is compliant with the rules. Yes, here you go. If that square was light green, then these 2 are pentomino, but this is not part of that pentomino, but it would touch that pentomino, so that's wrong. So that's pentomino, and 1 of these is pentomino, in such a way that we don't create anything naughty. Oh, bobbins, I don't know how to do that. Oh, yes, I do. The 4 clue's not finished. Oh, sorry, look, the 4 clue's not finished. There we go. So this now has to be out, or we've got the wrong count. So that's a corner. We are slowly making progress. That effectively becomes another corner. So we have to do all of that. That's definitely light green. So our 6th clue is correct. Oh, I'll tell you what we should do. What we should do is we'll highlight all of the clues in a different colour. And I will tick them off when I've done them. So that's correct. That one... No, that's not correct. This is correct. This is correct. Oh, bother. Okay. That square has to be green. Oh, look, no, in fact, it does have to be green, but also this is a corner of the loop now, so that turns up. Right. That square is not pentomino, because that would make this square a cul-de-sac, so that square is green. So the way that this grows is into... Well, it's either a normal way up F, or it's an upside down F, so it's an F. Right, okay, so what I should do, I'm going to do this as well. Let's go to the letter tool. Right, F in there. That is an F. I don't know where it goes, but it's an F. And that's a P. So we can't have any more Fs in the puzzle, so this can't be an F. These are all green, aren't they? Let's put that in. At least we've started. We have started the puzzle, which is good. But, unfortunately, that clue's not done. So that clue. I could highlight that clue and say it's done. There we go. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to... This is an F in one direction or the other. 3 here. I'm not really sure where I'm meant to look, to be honest. This 3 clue, this 4 clue. Is that doing something? So we've got 1 pentomino piece, so 3 pentomino pieces in there. And this is saying 2 pentomino pieces in here. And this is saying 1 pentomino piece in that direction. Oh, I see. Yeah, okay. I don't think that can be... I might be wrong about this, but I don't think that can be pentomino. Because surely this 1 clue is saying those 3 squares have to be green then. But this isn't a pentomino yet, so it would grow downwards and create a cul-de-sac. That's lovely. So this is green. This is green because it already has loop in it. Right, so this is probably where we look next. One of these, exactly one of these, is going to be thingy, pentomino. Let's try that one. Does that work? Maybe we'd get that pattern. This would have to grow. I'm not sure. I can't quite see whether or not that's a problem or not. All of these would be green. Oh, that's broke. No, okay, it's simple. I'm going to go back because I've seen why it breaks. The reason it breaks is really clever and very simple, and I was slow. The reason it breaks is if you make that grey pentomino, this becomes a passageway for the loop. So all 3 of those become green. And this 3 clue is impossible because it could only reach a count of 2. That's so lovely. So in fact, I get that is the pentomino. So that is green. This has to somehow... It has to somehow grow. I'm wondering if it can... No. Well, I think it has to grow downwards a little bit. Because if it didn't, if that square was green, this would grow upwards like that. And now this square is cul-de-saced, and so we can't do that. So that square is grey, and now we can use the 3 clue, which has now achieved its quorate. It has achieved a count of 3. And now how do we stop that being a cul-de-sac? Well, we have to switch the loop to go that way. This is now a corner of the loop. Look at this. This is going. It's going again. It's going again. We're doing all right again. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And this is not a pentomino, so that's got to grow quite a lot. All of this, look, all of this has become green. Let's go back to there. In fact, that's got to be green because this has got to get out. Right. Okay, that's good news. So this is green. This clue is done. Let's tick it off. This could be a Z or a U or an L maybe. It's one of those. Okay. This 2 clue is useless. This 4 clue is probably interesting. Oh yeah, hang on. This 4 clue, that must be interesting now. Because how many of those? Yeah, look, I've got 2 here. Oh no, it might work actually. I'm not sure. Yeah, no, I am not sure. How do we... So we're on a count of 2. We've got 2 more to put in. Now clearly those 2 are not orthogonally connected to this, because that would create a hexomino, which we're not allowed. So one of them only could be in those 2 squares, which means at least one of them are in these 2 squares. So does that mean... So if this is pentomino, that extends, and this wouldn't be pentomino. But if this is not pentomino, that is pentomino. Okay, this might be important actually, because I think what I'm concluding is it's not possible for both of those to be pentomino. Because if they're both pentomino, what happens is this F gets squeezed into a tetromino. Because if both of these are grey, you can see the loop has to go here and the loop has to go here, and the F can't become a pentomino at all. So only one of these is pentomino, which means this is not an L. It's either a U or a Z. So that square becomes green, and anything diagonally connected to that square becomes green. But what the big game in town is to know whether this is a... Oh, well, actually, oh, hang on, no, that's pointing the other way. I was thinking that was pointing right, and I was about to make that green. It's definitely pointing left, isn't it? So, oh, that square's become done. We can do that. This is definitely not done. No, that 5 is looking over here. Right, okay, sorry. Oh, so I'm getting a bit stuck again. So one of these, so if it goes there, that's also ruling this one out, of course. So if it did turn up, that would be in as a, oh, and that would have to be part of a pentomino. And this would have to get out. So you'd have to give it room. Yeah, that's interesting. The only way that this is part of a pentomino is if I think it has to be an I. Because this has to get out and it's going to go to there. And that's not going to leave enough space, so it's going to have to take that one as well. So if this is a pentomino, it's an I pentomino at the top of the grid. But if it's not, then this is the F. That would be like that. Can't see why that's a problem. This loop has to continue in one direction or the other. So it's either Harry Stylesing it down here or here. It's not possible that both of these are grey, and it's not possible both of these are green. Because whichever way the loop goes, it will leave a cul-de-sac behind. So one of they're one of each. Okay, I'm stuck. I don't know how to do this. How do I resolve this considerable conundrum? Am I looking in the wrong clues? That's very possible, isn't it? Or have I repeated a pentomino without realizing it? I don't think I have. Or is there some restriction on this one, which I haven't thought about at all? This one can't be an F or a P, or whatever that one turns out to be. So it can't take those two. So it takes a maximum of one of these. But it might just trot off into sort of the northwest corner. If it did that, it would have to be a W or whatever that is. Is that an N? Or is it something to do with this again? I know one of these is in. Or maybe... Okay, let's just... I'm just going to have a look at this. If that goes there, that goes there. So that forces the shape of this, doesn't it? It forces a... whatever that is, a Z, I suppose. So that would... Oh, hang on. Oh, that's obvious. Simon. Simon. Naughty Simon. Naughty Simon. That's appalling. Sorry, this is completely obvious. If you put one there... It's not obvious. It's not totally obvious, but it's quite obvious. If you put one there, we worked out you didn't also put one there in terms of pentomino, because that trapped that F in as an incomplete F. So, if you put one here, you've got to put one there, and that is an isolated cell cul-de-sac. So you don't put one here. That won't work. And now, because you can't put two there, you do put one there, and that's going to give me this great big thing at the top of the grid. Because now, look at this. That's got to get there. This has got to get out. So this goes there, and then it has to be an I, because that's the only thing it can be. Everything touching it is now green. Oh, this is doing all sorts of things. This is an I. Right, let's label this up. This is an I. The F now, look, does go there for what that's worth, which is probably something. Yeah, that's created a corner there, so that becomes something. This is going to be a cul-de-sac if it's green now. So we actually are going to end up with a U. Therefore that's green. So therefore we know this must be pentomino, and that's got to get out, because otherwise this loop end is going to create a cul-de-sac. So we go through here. We can't touch everything touching a pentomino that we get in the grid. That's a U, so I'm going to label it as such. U. I've got 4 pentominoes now. This square here is definitely green. This 4 clue is correct, so we can colour it. This 2 clue is not correct. This 3 clue is not correct. This 5 clue is not correct. Okay, it's probably this 3 clue we're going to look at next, I would imagine. Although, I'm not sure about that. Well, yeah, okay. This is definitely a corner of the loop, isn't it? So the loop is doing this, which is going to make that square green. So 3 of these 4 cells. Well, that feels very awkward. I wonder. I don't know. I don't know whether I can assume it's going to be like that, because I can see that's going to create a sort of loopable path. I'm not sure. I suspect there's some work we can do to discover what this is doing, but maybe I'm meant to think about this. If that goes up here, if it goes to there, I think that's all right. Got to be careful in terms of what I create down here, but I actually do think there are a few options for how that could look. So probably that's not where we're meant to look next. Although I'm far from confident about that. Let's think. Okay, so there are 3 pentominoes here. Can they be in separate pentominoes? Maybe that's a good question to ask, because if I could get these 2 as pentominoes, that would be good. So if they're separate, these 3, they'd have to be like this, wouldn't they? And now this would have to be a pentomino, because otherwise it's a cul-de-sac. And the loop would have to come further on. And this loop has to cut downwards. But we can't. Okay, so then we'd be in a position where either this one or this one would have to be grey. And I don't think it could be this one, because the only way of not cul-de-sacking this square then is to create a P pentomino. So that square would definitely be grey. This is going to work, isn't it? I think this is going to work. That becomes a thingy. There could be other restrictions that I'm not appreciating here, but this feels like it's going to, it's got options. This could be an L. It can't be an I again, I suppose, or it could be a no. Can it be a Y? No, it can't be a Y. Yeah, in fact, it would have to be an L. I've now realised it would have to do that. And then this would have to get out. See this? I think that's probably right. It seems to be working. So maybe the game in town is not that. Maybe it's to say you can't actually have 3 in a row here. My first thought was that okay, can you put 3 in a row there? No. I see. That is a problem because of the top row. Because we mustn't have a cul-de-sac here. Well, how can we ever achieve that? There's just no way. These 3 cannot be grey, can they? So there would be a cell here that was not green, that was green, and it would be a cul-de-sac. So you definitely can't put the 3 there. But can you put the 3 there? See, that doesn't immediately look like nonsense to me. It really doesn't. That does look suspiciously reasonable. But maybe there's... We can't make a U. You can't make a P. You could make a V, couldn't you? You could make a V or a T. So what is it I'm missing about that? Is there some trick or some clue that I'm not appreciating? Oh, you couldn't make a T, actually. I've just seen why you couldn't make a T. No, that's quite complicated. This 2 clue rules a T out. So it wouldn't be a T, so it would have to be a V, I'm going to claim. Because it can't be a P. It can't be a U. It can't be a T because of this clue, so it would be a V, which would mean either that... Which puts no, it's not that, because this is a passageway, and we'd have 3 loop ends in the same area of the grid. That doesn't work. So it would have to be that. If it's these 3, it has to be this. Oh, that doesn't work. This cell's impossible, because the loop's going to come down here, and it has to go there. But it also, oh no, that could be a pentomino piece. I'm wrong. This is right then, isn't it? That's going to do that. This 5 clue means both of these. I'm just going to take a... No, I've got the wrong number of loop segments in the top again, because that forces this shape. And I've got 1, 2, 3 loop segments up here. Good, gosh, that's complicated. Right, okay, but what we've now done, quite helpfully, hopefully, is we've said this is not a contiguous string of 3. This cannot be 3 in a row, either there or there. So it is 2 in a row. Oh, it's 2. It's both of these, and now that has to be there. We did this logic before. This has to extend. That has to be green. Now, I think we worked out that this square can't be grey, because to uncul-de-sac that, it would create a P pentomino. So that's green, that's grey. That allows us to extend this logic. These both become green, these both become grey. We can't make another I. This is so clever. It really is. It's ludicrously clever. Now, all of this now becomes green to avoid pentominoes touching it themselves. This comes out. This can't be another L, which... Right, I'm labelling this up with L. This one... Oh, okay, we've got a 5 clue we need to think about as well. But look, we can extend the loop. That's a corner, so we can do that. that becomes extendable. Do that. Now, this is going to be the biggest challenge for us. If we... Yeah, I can see this. If we take that one, we have a big problem, because this 5 clue is finished then, which forces the last position. We'd have that shape and we have to extend it either into an F, which we can't have, or an L, which we can't have. So it's not that one. That's definitely green. This is definitely... Oh, okay, that has to be part of this pentomino, otherwise it's touching a pentomino and it's not allowed to. So we get a W in the top of the grid. That's a W. That has to be completely surrounded by green, because pentominoes can't touch. That's given us loads more corners of the loop. Right, what on earth has gone on there then? Oh, it's still going. Look, that's forced. This is forced. This is a corner of the loop. That's forced. You get these little flurries of activity. That's green. This clue is done. That clue is done at last. That was hard. This is a pentomino that's completely unbuilt yet. So we need to think about that, don't we? Yeah, I mean, 2 of these are not taken, or we're going to get a P. How could that one only be taken? It couldn't be, because that would be cul-de-sac. So that is in fact definitely taken, and this is definitely not taken, otherwise we'd have a P. Some of this logic is starting to... That's going to create that, otherwise we've got a corner, a cul-de-sac. So that's now green. This has to come out. Oh, we're getting very constrained. It can't be an L. It must be... That's a Z. There we go. That is definitely a Z. Assuming I've not made a mistake in the logic. All this has to now be green. That's created a passageway. Let's use the passageway. And now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hang on. I've done 7 pentominoes. I've done 7 pentominoes. I'm going to work out what pentominoes I haven't done yet. I haven't done... there is no A pentomino. I haven't done X. I haven't done an X pentomino. I don't think I've done a V. I've looked at doing a V, but I couldn't do it. I haven't done a Y. I haven't done N. 4. 1. I've got... So there should be another one. What's the one I'm missing? Oh, how embarrassing. I don't know. I might have to look at my keyboard for the letters to think about which one it is. Or have I miscounted them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, I've got 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There are 12. I do know that. So V. What is it? There's no G, H, I, J, K, L. I've got L. There's no M. N, O, P I've found. Q, there isn't one. R, there isn't one. S, there isn't one. Oh, T. I haven't done T. I have thought about T as well. There we go. So it's these ones that we've got to play with, I suppose. So that's got to be one of those. And all... Oh, no, I was about to say I can label both of these as grey, but I can't. I've already got one in that column. Okay. I don't really know what to do here. Two clue here, so there's an awful lot of green down here. That seems to be true. Oh, it's not going to be I mustn't close the loop or something, because I can see this strand of loop. You know, we can't just close it with any sort of alacrity, because then we'll have 2 loops in the grid. Not really sure where the obvious weak point is here. I mean, if I'm guessing, I'm going to guess here, I think, or maybe there. I looked at that earlier, though. That seemed to be a lot of possibilities that could emerge. Maybe here. I'm not totally sure. But only one of these squares is grey. So whichever one I make, if I go that one being grey, I can see that's doing, then this is green and that is a passageway. So you have to do that. You'd have to do that. Oh, and that's trapped that in. It's that simple. That's trapped in, I think. It can't reach size, the size it needs to. It needs to be 5 cells. I think it's only got 3 to play with, so that's not going to work. So that's green. This is grey. Whoops. That's got to grow, but we haven't got a passageway now, so it's less powerful. Oh, and that's completing that clue has taken up one of the clues of this one as well. But wow. So which clues are undone? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's only 5 clues that I've not used. How long have I had? Well, just ticked over the hour. Have I done half the puzzle? Probably have. Because, you know, starting these puzzles is never easy. Okay. I don't know where to look. It's probably somehow working out what this is, but that doesn't feel very easy. It's not an X that does that. I can tell you that because that's cul-de-sac. Is it an X that does that? No, because this would be a corner and that would be cul-de-sac. So that is not an X. So it's either, let's actually label it, it's either V, Y, N or T. V, Y, N or T. That one might be able to be an X. No, that would cul-de-sac that, so that's also N, Y, V or T. So this is a bit tricky though, isn't it? Because Y would fit very nicely like that. Which maybe that's not possible, just because I can't see how that 3 clue's working, but it might be fine. It's not straightforward, I think, to conclude about that. In fact, maybe that's the point. If that's grey, oh no, you could have a T. No, you couldn't have a T. That wouldn't work. I'm just going to play around with this. If this is grey, you can see all 3 of those have to be grey. Now that means, in terms of what we're looking at, what would be legitimate to, that couldn't be an N now, because that would need to be the pentomino extension. So if this is grey, it's not an N. T doesn't work either, although it's slightly complicated. If that's a T, this is a corner, and that's a cul-de-sac because it's green. So it's not a T. So it's not N, it's not T. So it's either V, which would have to look like that. It's not V, because that would create a loop up here. So if this is grey, it's definitely a Y, and that would mean that was grey. And that's the one I'm worried about, because that looks right, doesn't it? The only reason I was hesitant about this, which might still be a valid thought, is I couldn't see how this 3 clue could be fulfilled now. But that might be just my myopia. In the sense that this and this can be kept apart by coming down here, so there's no more grey over here. So this would have to be grey. But this is then passageway, and I get 3 loop segments up in this top. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I mean, it's complicated, but it doesn't work. So that square is green. But that hasn't really taken us forward very far, has it? Because we're still really in the same position. We just know that that's green, which means, what does it mean? I don't know. That's a shape. That's a shape. 1, 2. So 2 of these are taken up. There's a shape down here. No, that's... We're sort of running out of pentominoes a bit, but I don't think it's quite enough pressure. I really don't. Right, so I'm going to have to think about this a bit harder, I think. What are the possibilities for how this looks? I'm just not sure. I mean, V... V feels very... Oh, V... actually, maybe not. Because V would... It's really difficult to definitively rule out some of these options. Okay, it's not a V that looks like that, because that would be cul-de-sac. But I think it has a few options if it's V. I mean, I think it's got a few options if it's Y. Not that. That option doesn't work, actually. Oh, maybe... So maybe that's the way to approach it. Can that be grey? Because then that would be grey. And then Y would either look like that. But that's going to give me the same problem that I had before, isn't it? If it's a Y like that, this has to be grey, which means this is a loop strand, and there are 3 loop strands coming into this. Oh no, but that could turn. No, but that would isolate this, so it doesn't work. Okay, so it's not a Y that looks that way, and it's not a Y that looks that way. So okay, so if this is grey, it's not Y. It's not V, because it doesn't have the right shape to be V. N. No, it's not N. It can't work. N would have to continue like that, wouldn't it? So, okay, so if this is in, it's a T. And if it's a T, then it must be a T that looks like that. And it's not a T that looks like that, because that's giving us all sorts of shenanigans up here, including making that square a cul-de-sac. So that's great. All right, so that square is not in. That square might be in. We don't know. Okay, but the problem with this is I'm sort of whittling this away, and I'm not really improving. I'm improving very slightly my knowledge about these squares, but I don't really know how to use those. I suspect I'm missing a trick here. Maybe it's something to do with this 3 clue and how it interacts with this. Can I conclude? I don't know whether to try and I think that's the natural thing, to try and disprove this. I'm going to try and disprove this. So we'd be in this situation. That's not an N now. If it's a T, it looks like that. Which might not be... I don't see why that's actually broken. It fulfills both of those 3 clues as well. That's interesting. But it's not an N. It's not a V. It could be a Y as well, if it did that. No, actually, that's interesting. It can't be a Y, because that 3 clue would be broken, because there would be 4 in its column. So it's not a Y. Right, so the only way this is grey is if it's a T, but it needn't be grey. If it's not grey, then this has all sorts of options, doesn't it? It could be... Well, what could it be? What could it be that's going to work? If it never comes into this column, you've got to be very careful with that, actually. Because you don't want to make a cul-de-sac down here. See even that looks like it might. No, I mean, again, that doesn't work, but it's really subtle as to why it doesn't work. And this has got... Oh, see, this is difficult. It's really it's tricky, actually. I'm not sure. I'm not sure quite how to do this. I suspect I'm looking... Maybe I'm meant to look somewhere else in the grid to really understand this. I suppose one thing we could say is that this clue, because we've now worked out its next cells are horizontal, it's going to take at least 2 of this 3 clues through 3 cells, isn't it? So maybe we can do something with that. Oh, I'm wondering whether it would be possible to conclude. Maybe we could... Okay, let's try this. What about if this square was green? Then I think it's legitimate to say those squares are green, isn't it? Because this can't touch another pentomino, so we'd be in this sort of world. Now, what does that mean? This... How could that be part of a pentomino? Oh, it could be a Y. No, that creates... No. It's really difficult to be definitive. I mean, I don't think it works. I think N doesn't work. Oh, V? No, V creates a cul-de-sac. N creates a cul-de-sac. Y creates a cul-de-sac. What are the other options? T. No, that can't be part of a T. And it can't be part of an X. All right. So this square would then be green. But does that... Well, it does matter because it puts some pressure on this. So this is now either a T or something like that, or this is part of a different region. So much flexibility. I don't like this, sorry, I just don't like this as a line of attack. It just feels like there's so much... I mean, I could bifurcate it in the end to force an answer, but it's not an elegant way to solve what I've no doubt is an elegant problem. So I'm just going to give it a moment or two to think a bit harder, if that's all right. Oh, I don't know. I wish I understood. No, what I was about to say there is not true. Have I used all the clues that I've actually... This has to... Okay, one of those squares is pentomino. That must be true. Because this... Or at least one of those, I suppose. Although I bet it's only one. Because if these were both green, then this would turn in here, and that would be cul-de-sac. So one of these is pentomino, and it can't join to that. Because even if it was that one, the only way it could join is with a U, and we've already had a U. So one of these is grey. Maybe this is where I'm meant to look. So I wonder... It feels very difficult to me for this to be grey, because if that's grey, that's grey. Now that's cul-de-sac. That's it. Oh, it's this. Oh, bobbins. I shouldn't have been looking up here. I should have been looking down here. Look, that's really clear the moment I started to think about it. Yeah. So this can't be grey, because that becomes grey to extend, and now that must be green, and it's definitely cul-de-sac. So that's green. That, therefore... Well, I think that's got to be grey, because we've got to do that. Now that's got to be grey. It's got to get out. Now we're going to have to work out which pentomino this is in a moment. And the answer is not X. Oh, so... Okay, so we've got another of these ones that's the same as... It's N, T, V, or Y. Well, what can't it be? It can't... No, it can't be T. Well, that won't work. V... No, V won't work because that would be cul-de-sac, so it's not V. So it's N or Y. It's a New York. This is a New York pentomino. N would look like that. No, that creates a cul-de-sac, or like that. That creates a cul-de-sac. N can't work at all. It just can't work. Its nature is to cul-de-sac. So that is a Y. And a Y, we still must be careful here because we don't want to... Oh, well, we can't cul-de-sac that square, which we... So I think that has to be grey. I think that has to be grey. And now the only way Y can work is like that. And that's beautiful because that's going to allow us to green all of those squares, create some corners for us, look. Oh, look, yeah, it does. Okay, so all of this becomes green. This one clue is finished, so that becomes green. Oh, I'm so sorry, K and T, looking over here. That's just inexperience and ineptitude on my part. Right, these can't be Y anymore. I can't remember if that removed any of their serious options. That clue is green now. Well, hang on. I want to say these are either both in or both out, and if they were both pentominoes, there's no valid pentomino that we can make this into. N, T and V do not look like that. So I think they both have to be green, but let me just think about that for a moment. Yeah, because if that's grey only and this is green, this closes and that's a cul-de-sac, so that doesn't work. And if we do it the other way round, that's a cul-de-sac clearly. So these are both green. And that is about, well, no, that's still good because that creates a corner. I don't know. I was about to say that that's going to go that way, but it could go that way. Yeah, it could. I think it could. So we don't know. Don't know how that works. But can we now deduce something about what this actually is? Or is that also going to be impossible? It's N, T or V. Or, actually, that's a different point altogether. N, T or V. Got that one. That one. I've now used the Y, so I've only got 4 pentominoes left. There's 2 here. I sort of feel that there's one coming down here. Maybe that can join to that one then, in some sort of... I don't, not like that. Oh, maybe like that. Maybe like that. That might be possible. Okay. So what do we do next? Let's think about... is it this we think about? If this is a V, it has to look like... That doesn't work. That cannot be a V because it would create a cul-de-sac. That's good. So let's un-V for this. So this is N or T. Now if it's T, I think it's got to look like that. Now is there a reason that that doesn't work? And I'm going to claim no, and therefore it probably is right. If it's an N, it could look like that. Maybe. Bit dubious about whether that works, but it might work. It couldn't be that. How strange. So I think N and T are both very reasonable there. And the problem there is that I'm coming back over to this thing and I'm worrying about what that's going to be again. I don't... Oh, dear, dear, dear. I don't know. Okay, maybe we have to bite the bullet. I tell you what would be interesting. Just, if I could get rid of V from here, then I would have an NT pentomino pair. And then any other pentomino in the puzzle would have to be an X or a V. Which would be, so maybe we can get rid of V. How would this be a V? Can it be? No, that creates... It's definitely not a V like that. That creates a cul-de-sac. So the other ways it could be a V would be, no, that creates a cul-de-sac because this needs to branch in two directions at the same time. But it could be like that. Maybe no, then it needs to branch. So it's okay. So the only way this is a V is, that's interesting. That's better than I did before. The only way this is a V is if it's like that. Now the problem with that is that that might be right. Oh no, that creates a cul-de-sac. Oh, is it this simple? This can't be a V. How would this be a V? No, that creates a branch. No, okay, it is that simple. That's not a V. Right, that's an NT pair then. So this is N or T. This is N or T. So, I mean, the problem with that is that I think there are going to be a variety of ways that this could work. It's not this 2 clue, is it? Oh goodness, right. I am going to think about this. I hadn't appreciated that this 2 clue is going to wipe out certain ends. Yeah, how could this be an N actually? How? I mean, it can't be that because that's stranded. And if it's this, that's broken. It can't be that because we go through a clue. Oh, this is a T. So I mean, I know that might be obvious to people, but that was not obvious to me at all. So that is now a T. And how does it look like a T? And the answer to that is I don't know yet. But it could be a T. It could be a T in a variety of... Well, no, it can be a T in all sorts of ways. I thought about whether that could be an X. Didn't know it can't be an X. So it could be a T like that. That is one way I've seen. It's not a T like that because that creates a cul-de-sac. So I think there's broadly 2 ways this is a T. It's either like this. Let's have a look at this. Is that broken for some reason? You don't like it. I think it's wrong. I think the parity's wrong up here because this has to turn down and then that creates a corner and this is cul-de-saced. Yeah, it doesn't work. So that's not the T. That is not the T we're looking for. So I think the T that we're looking for is actually a sideways T there. And if that's the T we're looking for, let's check this works. We'd go there, there, there. That's a corner. This comes down here. Oh, this was the iteration where these 2 clues both get filled as well. So everything, look at this, it's doing, well, it's doing that. That can't be a pentomino in that single cell. So that's green. This is green. This 3 clues complete. That's green. Now is this, no, this 2 clue is not complete. It's got one of its clues. But everything diagonally connected with that also has to turn green, which gives us more corners of the loop. That's a corner. That becomes a corner. Look at all this. This keeps going. All of these now are all green. This is now an N. Let's not forget that. That's going to be huge, isn't it? Because surely we can do something with that. That's impossible. So the only way this can work is if it's an N that looks like that. I hope this works, otherwise I've really made a boo-boo. All of those squares become green to avoid having a pentomino touch another pentomino. So we have to do this, there. This is where it looked a bit hairy before. So we have to do all of those things just forced. Now this clue is done. That clue is done. This clue is not done. This clue is not done. But, oh look, this would be a corner if we don't deal with it now, so that's forced. This is impinging. Right. Oh, okay. So now one of these two is thingy. What's going on? What's going on? No, that won't work. Okay, here is an interesting point actually. So if we look at, we've now used t and we've used n, so these come out. So we've only got x's and v's to go, but I've got to put a second pentomino in this row. It goes here or here. Now if it was an x, it would look like that. And I don't think that works at the top of the grid, because this is a corner of the loop now. And if you see, I've got 1, 2, 3 loop ends in this little area. And you can't have an odd number of loop ends in an area of the puzzle and be able to create a loop. So actually there is a V in one of these, and then it's not that, is it? So this square is definitely green. So one of these is a V, and it's the tip of the V. So the V is either doing this or it's doing this. And that's... Oh, okay. Okay, so what I've noticed about that is whichever one of those it is, whether it's that or whether it's that, let me show you. It's either that or it's that. It's one of those two things. Now, whichever one it is, this 2 clue sees one and it sees this one, whether it's the blue shadow or whether it's the grey shadow. So that means that this square is definitely pentomino. That square is definitely pentomino, and all of these squares are definitely not pentomino. And that's going to be important, because the only other shape we could have, this is a V, we know that, let's put it in. So the only other shape pentomino I could possibly have in the grid is an X. But if there is an X in the grid, I don't think it's clued in the sense that it's, because this is saying there's a V in one of these. This is part of the V which completes this clue, and there's no other clue to use. So, yeah, in fact, look. Whether it's this shape or this shape, you simply cannot put an X in any of those, so they are all green, which means that this is a corner. Which means that, whoopsie, which means that's a corner. Yeah, but look, you could put an X there. Oh, good grief, that's going to be the answer. That's going to be the answer, because that's too beautiful for it not. The fact that that works is very, very suspicious, isn't it? So either it looks like this or like this, and there's all of this is green down here. And we're going to have some sort of simple loop extravaganza to finish it. But isn't the parity going to change of the loop depending on... Oh, that's going to be it. Oh, goodness me, that's so beautiful. Good grief, right. We can work out, you know. We can work out whether we need another pentomino, because pentominoes are odd. Oh, goodness me, right. Right. I know what's going on here. So, yeah. So this is like bishop's move logic. It's like yin-yang type thing that we've looked at before, or German, you know, building things that move in German whispers type orthogonal movements. Sorry, I'm not being very articulate. But what I'm going to tell you is, let's imagine. Whoopsie. I want to make that square blue. Right. If we are going to draw a loop from that square that moves orthogonally from cell to cell, how long is the loop? And the answer is, I have no idea. But I can tell you it's an even number of cells long. Because, I mean, hopefully that's clear. The shortest number of cells you could move would be like that. And any extension of the loop is you're always going to have to move an even number of cells. So you're always going to move back to the same bishop's colour. And if you think about how many steps you have to make to return to the same bishop's colour as you start on, if you can't move diagonally, you're always going to require an even number of steps. And that means that in this puzzle overall, the number of green cells must be even. Now, what I haven't deduced is whether or not that means we need another pentomino or not. But we're either going to be on an even count without the x, or we're going to have to get to an even count with the x. And that's going to tell us whether this is in the puzzle or not. So let's work this out. It was 15 by 15. So 15 times 15, 225. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 clues. So we are naturally on an even number, except that we've only put 11 pentominoes in. So we've got 55 cells deducted from an even number. That's going to give us an odd number, which is wrong. You can't create a loop in an odd number of cells. So we need to put an x into the puzzle to get the count of green cells back to being even. And the only place I think you can put an x is there. I may be wrong about that. I don't think I am. That looks right. So that is an x. Let's label it up with x. Oh no, look. The other reason that this is beautiful is that now the V can't go there, or it would touch the other V. So that's pinpointing the V. This is unbelievable. What a piece of design this is. All of those then turn green. And all we've got to do, I say all we've got to do now, well, it's probably not going to be that difficult, because you can just look for corners, look. Yeah, there's so many corners that we're going to get now, that we can just use them, hopefully, if I'm not totally inept. Yeah, that's another corner. This is like these are just simple loop. Oh, look at the top left of the grid. If I make that connection, I've closed the loop. So I better not do that. So that's got to do that, that's got to do that, that's got to do that. We've got to get to that square, so we better dip down there. Now this is effectively a corner. That is sick. That is absolutely sick. So we did use all 12 pentominoes. I wonder if that's something. I actually wonder if there may be a way. Now I've had the thought, there may have been a way of doing this puzzle where you sort of counted how many pentominoes were definitely being pointed at by the clues, and you could deduce that you needed all 12 pentominoes at the start. Oh goodness, I hope that's not right, because I bet the X is impossible to place as well, because look, I mean, if you can see, it creates 4 corners, so it can never go near the perimeter of the grid. Oh, there might have been a very clever way of doing this, where you could literally almost just paint in the X at the start. No, you can't, surely not. I don't know. I'm suspicious, but it's brilliant. It's an absolutely brilliant puzzle. And oh dear, I can't let you do that. Puzzle doesn't conform. Oh, the puzzle doesn't include solutions. So this might still be correct. It just doesn't understand. It doesn't understand because it's looking for Sudoku. Okay, right. So what I need to do now is to try and work out whether I think this is correct, which will take me some studying to do. But I think it is correct, unless I've messed up something somehow. And if it's correct, what we'll need to do, we'll change the instructions to the puzzle. So we'll say, if you make, if we put, I don't know, or maybe I know what we could do. No, I know, it's very obvious what we've got to do. we should put, or maybe it's too complicated. I was thinking we could put, let me do it. You know, if you did this, this would be fine, wouldn't it? And we'll make it so that if you do that, no, because I mean that's requiring people to know what pentomino is what. No, what we should do is we'll just make everything, every pentomino cell, I don't know, an 8. Because after that it's just a simple loop drawing exercise, isn't it? So so what we'll do is we'll change the stored puzzle so that if you put an 8 into all the pentomino cells, that will be marked correct, and that will give us an answer check. So that's my first job, is going to be to see whether I think this is correct, and if I do, we'll change the answer sheet. KNT, that is a work of genius. It is absolutely brilliant. Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, what more can you say? That end is clearly designed. Well, is it the end that's being designed, or was it the beginning that was being designed and I solved it wrong? I'm not sure. I'm going to look at the comments on this one with interest. But what I can tell you is it's class. It really is. Let me know in the comments how you got on. I enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind. And let us know too. I know this is a very long video today, but if you'd like to see more logic puzzles on the channel as well as Sudoku, yeah, let us have your opinion and we will certainly listen. Thanks for watching. We'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic. This is just in time for the Braid stream.